Happy Thursday and welcome to the special game week edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. Man, I'm looking forward to this. I mean,
looking forward to the show or looking forward to the game?
I'm looking forward to the
looking
show.
Forward to the
I'm looking forward
dinner.
to getting the Holy Ghost later tonight to speak to a great group of Husker fans, and I'm looking forward to Saturday. As you start the show, headline number one, as we go through what we feel are the biggest headlines of Husker Nation. Headline number one for us today: Nebraska has a chance to jumpstart 2024 with 4 straight home games. It begins Saturday against UTEP. And you look at this first 4-game stretch at home, UTEP, brand new head coach. They're going through a transition. Colorado is Colorado. We'll talk plenty about them next week. Northern Iowa is rebuilding, and then Illinois on a Friday night. So it's a real opportunity for Nebraska to get momentum. They have not been able to do that in this program since 2016, where they've started off a year on a good note, where it felt good. I mean, 2019 they did to an extent. Then the wheels fell off pretty quickly in 2019. But there's a real opportunity with this schedule starting Saturday.
Yeah, it really sets up well, and that's important. Especially for a program that's trying so desperately to find its footing, kind of to take off, I guess. I guess, would you say, for the sake of discussion, this is a discussion, did Nebraska find its footing last year?
I mean, I don't think you can really say that last year because of the injuries. I mean, Jeff Sims and his situation derailed things so quickly, to Chuba Purdy's injury, to having to get Heinrich Harburg ready, then the injuries to Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, Marcus Washington, Gabe Irvin, Ramir Johnson.
Yep.
I mean, you heard the coaches last year say they had never dealt with that many in a row. It got to the point like, wow.
Right.
And then, oh, by the way, Turner Corcoran out for the year.
Right.
And there was another O-lineman that went out too, right?
I can't remember who, but yes, they had O-line injuries.
Ethan Piper.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just
bam.
They were just gutted on offense.
Yeah, they were gutted. So this schedule, Sean, perhaps allows Nebraska to simultaneously find its footing and take off as a program. I mean, if they come out, Nebraska comes out and wallops UTEP like it should. Now, I've come around on that conversation. I've evolved. They should handle UTEP easily. They should dominate them. Okay, I've changed my tune since Tuesday. And then if they follow that up with a resounding win against Colorado, that's sort of simultaneously finding your footing and taking off. Then you wonder, could they take off? Could you really get this baby rolling if that happens?
What I like that Northern Iowa is after Colorado, because if they win that game against Colorado, you're going to be really high,
right?
And you risk a real letdown. Well, Northern Iowa, they could beat anybody. Sure, they could beat you. But
are you suggesting that you could have a letdown against Northern Iowa and still win?
Correct.
Right.
I mean, and I think that's the difference with this schedule compared to previous schedules. There's more margin for error here in still being able to win.
Good point.
Where last year at Minnesota, very little margin for error.
Right. You saw that.
They're icing the game. Anthony Grant fumbles. They lost the game.
Right.
I mean, literally another first down, they win the game.
Yeah. Margin for error. Now, the margin for error, that's going to be something we haven't talked about, which is hard to find things that we haven't talked about. Is the margin for error increasing a little bit?
I would say it can, because they have a quarterback that can throw on the field, that has arm talent to get the ball through windows. Right. And they have receivers right now that can make those plays. They didn't have a quarterback last year that could get the ball downfield through tight windows, or receivers that could get it.
So if you get down 10 now, if you get down 12, you can get back in a hurry, right?
And the last team that for Nebraska that went to a bowl was 2016, and that group of receivers was really good. And we saw some of those Mike Riley teams get down, and they were able to mount comebacks quickly because of the receivers and Tommy Armstrong.
That's a good point.
So I think they are built better in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just being at home, like think about on the road at Minnesota, at Colorado, sold out stadiums, raucous, and how intense third downs are.
Oh God. In those first 2 games last year, those were hard environments. Matt Rule has referred to that Minnesota game that he didn't have Nebraska ready for that, not properly ready. I think it surprised him, that full stadium and how loud it was at Minnesota.
I didn't know if it was gonna be like that. I
didn't either,
but
I didn't.
It was the students just moved back. It was your first weekend in college if you're going to Minnesota. Why wouldn't you? It was an awesome atmosphere.
It was a big time atmosphere. Then Colorado was, we've said it many times, we don't have to dwell on it. It was maybe as loud and raucous of an atmosphere as I've ever seen on the road in 30 years.
Especially at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, it was craziness at that place. Outside the stadium, inside the stadium.
So think about what your offense now can do at home for a month. You can operate and have a little bit more
quiet,
just freedoms at home.
Quiet.
And we're on the road. 3rd and 6 or something. It's not as easy.
I don't think Jeff Sims was ready for Colorado. I maintained that from the moment I watched him out there taking those missing snaps, just dropping. I don't think he was ready for that environment.
Well, and in general, like, he guessed on throws. And there was a throw. I've talked to somebody after the fact this year. One of the throws he had a pick at Minnesota. He threw it to essentially the 4th or 5th, like the last read that you really never throw to. And what happened? It got picked.
Yeah.
To the best player on Minnesota's team, who's now on the New York Giants, Nubbin, all Big Ten safety. Sims, I think he guessed a lot and paid the price with turnovers.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a much different picture at quarterback. I know people, I thought Sims was the guy. We were sold that so well, that we were sold so well from Coach Rule and Coach Satterfield that he was ready for it, and he just wasn't. But I do have a good feeling about Dylan. I think that he is I've said this, I've been saying it this week. I think his strength is his brain. I think his strength
and his maturity.
Yeah. Yeah. I think his strength is his football intelligence, and he has a really strong right arm.
Like, I like that Dylan's not goofy and silly. Like, it's business. He's not up there.
We've seen goofy and silly.
Joking around. Mm-hmm. Making jokes and kind of, it's business.
Yeah. He's a young, Marcus Satterfield called him a young pro. And if you think about it, he is right now. He's a young pro. He's not like a young pro. He is a young pro.
Well, he's paid like a pro.
He's paid like a pro, and he comports himself like a pro. And he's a young pro. That's what you got at quarterback.
All right. Before we take it to headline number 2, Husker Online headlines brought to you by CHI Health, and particularly Pediatric Place at CHI Health St. Elizabeth. As a dad of 2, I know that accidents and illnesses don't always happen at 8 in the morning or during business hours. So when it's an emergency, visit Pediatric Place at CHI Health St. Elizabeth, located on South 70th and O Street, is the place you want to look at. It is Lincoln's only ER just for kids. Open 24/7 for pediatric emergency care. They offer child-friendly rooms and private waiting areas, both to help put kids at ease and more. Their expert care team specializes in pediatric emergency medicine. To learn more about Lincoln's only ER for kids, visit chihealth.com/pediatric place. Thank you again to CHI Health for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online show. Okay, headline number 2. So UTEP comes to town, and I feel like you and I have had a pretty good read on these guys because of being able to spend a lot of time around Scotty Walden this summer. It just kind of fell into place for us. We were at the satellite camps in Belton, Texas, and Houston, 2nd year in a row that Sip and I have made that trip with Greg Peterson.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the team working these camps with Nebraska was UTEP.
It was amazing.
And Scotty Walden was there and didn't know anything about the guy.
No.
I learned a little bit about him from Brett Bloomquist, and we have some great stuff from him up on our site now. He's the El Paso newspaper beat writer for UTEP, but just spending time around Walden, he is an intriguing character, and you can sense Nebraska fans have kind of become a fan of him, like his style, his approach. He's very complimentary, energetic type of guy. 34 years old, will be making his first game as a head coach here for UTEP in Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, everybody's going to say that meets him. A lot of people will say reminds you of PJ Fleck a little bit because of his energy, because of his size, his stature.
I think he's more genuine, though.
Yeah, he could be. Yeah, he could be. He's a smaller guy, though. His team will probably, teams typically reflect their head coach. They'll be upbeat. They're going to run a high tempo offense, fast tempo offense, try to snap it every 12 seconds. That's going to be a big challenge for Nebraska. We do know that his situation is challenging there. I would say, Sean, you could find a dozen FCS teams that could beat UTEP right now. Okay. A dozen FCS teams that could beat UTEP. They're gonna pose some challenges. Their tempo on offense will pose challenges, and they have Maurice Westmoreland coming off the edge, number 0.
They're going to try to create chaos to get Nebraska off kilter, and their offense.
Yes,
they know. It's like when you're fighting an opponent in a battle, and you can't just beat them straight up gun to gun. What do? You try to flank them. You try to catch them off guard. Go for it on 4th down a lot. Run fast tempo, onside kicks,
fake
field goals, fake punts. You're going to see this team take some chances. And Scotty Walden has come out this week and said, there are sometimes you just go into these games hoping, you just come out of it okay, collect your check. Well, UTEP is getting paid handsomely. I believe 1.7 million. I mean, they're getting
that's handsome,
a lot of money to come play here, but they want to come here and compete and establish their culture. And he's a proud head coach. He's not just going to give in to Nebraska.
No, of course he won't. I mean, of course, no head coach would. The other thing about them is their defense. It's really helpful to Nebraska in that they run a similar defense. Dylan won't see anything from I'll just say a 3-3-5. It's a little more complicated than that, but Dylan won't see anything too much that he doesn't see in practice. It'll be a challenge. It'll be somewhat different, but the fact that Nebraska runs a very complex defense really helps them. It does, because those guys on Nebraska's offense have to deal with that every day. So what UTEP shows them probably won't affect them too greatly.
The thing about the 3-3-5, and I wrote this in one of our chats, the HuskerOnline users this week, is all systems are not the same. Like
they're not.
And, there's a lot of interchangeable, a lot of movable parts. And there he is, Scotty Walden with Tony White earlier this summer at the satellite camps in Belton, Texas. But the 3-3-5 is so versatile, and that's the beauty of this scheme. That's why Matt Rule really wanted to run this defense. And by the way, Tony White grew up in El Paso, Texas.
Yeah, he calls it, he moved with his second family there. He was in New York and then moved to El Paso to be part of sports. And that's where that's where his football, he says that Tony White says that's where his football life began, in El Paso. So that's where he is huge for him. It's huge for him.
But the 3-3-5 will be
3-3-5.
How Raiola kind of pre-snap reads and does what he does. And we'll get into more some of the communication things he'll have an advantage on now for his first start. I mean, I do think it's a major advantage for Raiola, his first career start. He will have a helmet headset. He will have tablet technology.
Yeah, I think that all will help him. Then if you take it to the other side, hey, Sean, when you flip the conversation, Nebraska's defense versus UTEP's offense, after looking at it, I think Nebraska's defense should dominate this game. I don't think that UTEP should score more than 12. I don't. I mean, I'm predicting, can I say it, 48-8. I just don't. They have an all-new offensive line. I don't know what that's going to look like. They don't even know what they're going to do at quarterback, and neither of them, the credentials aren't great.
Well, and this is a year 2, and programs should take big jumps in year 2.
Yeah, Nebraska. Right. Yeah, you would think. But this offense that's coming in here to face Nebraska shouldn't be the kind that moves the ball too much.
Every coach, though, in the last 25 years at Nebraska, other than Scott Frost, took a major jump in year 2.
So, yeah, if Nebraska's defense takes a major jump, oh God, I mean, that'll look really good. Now, I should amend what I say a little bit. UTEP might move the ball a little bit, but moving the ball and scoring are two very different things. And I just don't think they should be able to get in the end zone more than once. Am I going overboard here?
I think
more than once.
Yeah. Let's set the over under at 12.
Yeah.
Because I think 13 is a very doable number.
Okay.
But, you just don't know much about their kicking game. Will they line up for field goals?
Right. I don't know much about it.
I mean, there's a lot there that we don't know going into this game, but I'm excited to see them come in. All right, before we take it to headline number 3, HuskerOnline Headlines brought to you by Bauer Underground. We're thrilled to be back in a partnership with the great folks at Bauer Underground. They help serve and support local contractors and utility companies with the state of Nebraska. Bauer Underground, Inc. gives 100% to assure quality control for their customers and has excellent management skills to supervise each and every job they contract for. The company and its employees are accustomed to deadline pressures on construction jobs, and they take tremendous pride in meeting the deadline requirements while maintaining excellent workmanship on each job. Strategy is at the heart of what they do. For more than 25 years, their reputation has been built on the basic principles that include quality workmanship, on-time job completion, hiring and retaining quality personnel, utilizing the latest earth-moving techniques, maintaining safety for their customers and employees. We have a lot more coming from Bauer throughout the season, and we're excited to be talking about them moving forward, and we're grateful for their support of Husker Online. You can check them out at BauerUnderground.com to read more about what they do, who they've worked with, and more. Bauer Underground. They have offices in Lincoln, Omaha, Kearney, and Norfolk. Thanks again to Bauer Underground for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online show. Okay, let's take it to headline number 3. Can Nebraska take a step forward in the turnover game? And to put the numbers in perspective, Steve Sipple, this is a defense that only forced 14 turnovers last year, 9 interceptions, 5 recovered fumbles. On the flip side, Nebraska gave it up 31 times. I believe 16 picks, 15 fumbles.
That's right. You nailed it. You got the numbers, Sean. Good job. Yes, the answer to your question is, can Nebraska take a step forward in the turnover game? The answer is a resounding yes. In fact, I think you could have put, can Nebraska take a big step forward in the turnover game? And I would have said yes. Because the defense is in the second year under Tony White, and it's an immensely talented defense. Now, I'll get to the offense in a second. It's an immensely talented defense. It should force more turnovers this year. They should have a good pass rush. That creates havoc. Quarterbacks should be a little skittish. They have a good secondary, a long secondary. I mean, long. Tommy Hill, 6 foot, 6'1". Singleton, 6'2". Gifford's 5'11", 6 foot. He can make interceptions. They have guys that can do it. So they should force more. And then offensively, Dylan is, as we've established, is a very intelligent quarterback. He'll take care of the ball. He knows the deal. Okay. Yes, they will take care of the ball. They will not have the ratio that Nebraska's quarterbacks had last year, which was a horrifying ratio. 16 interceptions versus 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdown passes versus 16 interceptions. If you told me that going into the year, I would have said they won't finish 500. They will not finish 500 if their quarterback ratio is 10 touchdowns versus 16 interceptions. If Dylan Raiola has 10 touchdown passes and 16 interceptions this year, it'll be a colossal failure. I mean, a failure that will get guys fired. Okay, that's the long and short of it, Sean.
When you take out now a lot of that zone read stuff too, the QB exchanges, and a lot of fumbles, of those 15 fumbles, they happen on plays like that.
Yeah,
because you're pulling the ball in and out of the belly of the running back.
Yeah,
there's timing issues. Sometimes a fumble happens too when there's a misread of timing of a receiver going in motion. The ball hits the receiver, or the handoff is late, or a bobble. I mean, there are some execution things that lead to fumbles.
You remember when I always thought about it this way? Remember when Beck was here, and Tim Beck was a very good offensive coordinator, but they were running that zone read stuff, and they were the amount of ball handling they asked the quarterback to do, to me, was astounding. The footwork, the ball handling, and the timing, man, it was a lot. There was a lot to ask.
I think
there won't be as much now.
the higher you get in the football world, the harder it is. Because in the pro, I mean, they get their hands out more.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten's a lot like that. You can do that in the high school games and get away with some of these things. But when you get to this level, you have to be perfect on all those plays.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to drop it. And the best fumble year recently Nebraska's had was when Mike Riley was the coach, because they didn't do that stuff.
Right. It's more straight handoff stuff. So I think they'll take I really believe it. I believe they'll take a big step forward that way. They'll reduce the amount on offense dramatically. And I imagine they'll increase. I don't know if I would say a dramatic increase on defense, but I would think they would force more.
If they can get pressure on quarterbacks with 3 or 4 men rushes,
that's big.
All of a sudden that secondary can just lick their chops back there.
Can you get there with 4?
And they have guys back there that can make plays.
Yeah. And they have guys up front that can make plays. So, yeah. I would, you know what? I'd feel a little bit better about the defense forcing more turnovers if Javin Wright was involved. I think that loss of Javin Wright, the way it is, and I don't know, maybe he'll be back, but he's not going to play this week. That is a big loss. And it's a size. I hate to say it this way, but I'll just say this way. It's a loss. It's a loss. There's no question. They don't have a player. They don't replace him with a commensurate player.
And there is no timeline on when he'll be back.
No, we haven't heard much about it.
No. And when it's a medical thing, they're careful.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
And we got to be careful. I mean, it's just not something that they have shared publicly what it is.
Yeah.
They have kept the door open, but you're right. Losing him he's an NFL caliber player.
Yeah, and he's long and he's a vicious hitter. So why do I say that he would affect the turnover situation? Because he's long, 6'5". He is 6'5", by the way. I looked. 230, and he's a vicious hitter. So I just hope he gets back. I really do, Sean.
I think the Black Shirts will force at least 3 turnovers Saturday. I think they can force at least 3.
That'd be great.
They need, and what I would like to see is them to kind of get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, they've screwed. I mean, especially these early season conference games that they've played, Nebraska's turned it over in these games. And it's like getting a debt that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
Like Nebraska's
like a credit card debt.
Like Nebraska's turnover margin, they pay high interest rate on that all year. They don't get out of the debt.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a recurring talking point. It'd be nice if they could be like +3 coming out of Saturday.
Yeah, and what happens if they're +5 after 2 games? We don't even talk about it.
Yeah, because then you're like, hey, we actually saved some money this month. We're ahead of the game.
Yeah, we don't even. But as media, it's kind of funny if they get up in a situation after 4 games where they're +5. We don't even really talk about it that much.
What were they?
We only talk about it when they're down.
In 2003, when Bo came in, it was like a ridiculous margin. I mean, they forced like
+11 or something.
Well, then it was like 40 turnovers. Yeah. I mean, it was a ridiculous amount. I mean, Josh Bullock's had 10 picks that year
himself. Yeah. I want to say, is +13. Does that make sense to you?
It was more than that.
Was it more than that?
Yeah. It was a ridiculous amount. I mean, they flipped the defense so much from that year to that year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, Sean.
All right, before we take it to headline number 4, Husker Online Headlines, brought to you by Omaha Steaks. It is the anniversary sale. That means already you'll get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. But we're going to give you another $30 off with the promo code HuskerOnline, and there's no better time. You're going to be coming down to Lincoln for a month. More than a month, and you count the first 7 games of the year. There's 5 of the first 7 are at home. The first 4, though, are in Lincoln, and you're going to need some meat. You're going to need to get steaks, burgers, hot dogs, brats, you name it. Omaha Steaks has you covered, and maybe Steve Sipple will stop by your tailgate party to get some good steaks.
Yeah, that's pressing a little bit. That's a big ask, but that look at that stuff, Sean. That stuff looks tremendous. And it is, you know what? It is tremendous. And it's a great idea for tailgates, but hell, it's just a great idea for a meal on a whatever day. And you sell it very well.
I actually took some chicken I had from Omaha Steaks, some chicken breast, and we have our new flat top.
Okay, tell me about this.
And laid out a bunch of zucchini, broccoli, all the chicken breasts. The beauty of these flat tops, you can cook like all that food in 15 minutes.
It's pretty healthy, Sean.
And then you box it up and you had meals all week.
You need to stay healthy.
I try, I got to keep up with you.
Well, you got to keep up with the season.
I hear the folk stories of you at Planet Fitness. But thank you again to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring us here on HuskerOnline Headlines. It's the promo code HuskersOnline to get $30 off at omahasteaks.com. Okay, headline number 4. Other things you'll be watching on Saturday. This will give us an ability. The obvious one, Dylan Raiola, how he manages his first start. That's a big one.
Oh, there's so much.
But
how the tackles hold up against Maurice Westmoreland. Come on. I mean, it could be Ben Hart on one side. It could be Turner Corcoran. I don't know how they'll do it with Westmoreland, if he'll line up on a certain side or they'll move him. It doesn't matter. Either way, how do they handle Maurice Westmoreland, who had 7.5 sacks last year, 10.5 tackles for loss? And I look at it in the context of Colorado, which I'm telling you, Sean, has 3 Westmorelands. Okay.
That's a great litmus test for the next week.
Yes.
But I'm guessing Westmoreland's never been talked about more than his life.
Probably not.
He's like, man, I never even had media talk about me this much. In Nebraska, he's on every show being talked about like he's Reggie White.
Yeah. We're fixated on him.
Well, it is a matchup.
It is.
Especially with Corcoran coming off injury.
Yeah, his numbers are his numbers. I mean, he put numbers up, Westmoreland did. And, yeah, Corcoran, if he's lined up over Corcoran, you're watching.
And this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be sitting by you, and you're going to nudge me.
Yeah.
And on that first
right,
third and long,
you're
going to look out how wide this Westmoreland gets out.
Right.
And how Corcoran handles it.
Well, that's football.
Right. But that will be, if you're watching a 3rd down and 7. That's what you're watching.
Match. And he might be on Ben Hart's side too. And you're watching Ben Hart. I mean, this is what it's all about, Sean. That's football. And you have a quarterback at Nebraska who needs protection now.
All right. Another thing to watch.
Okay, what else?
The running backs.
Yes.
How quickly will they move on to a next guy? And when will they decide to stay with a hot hand?
I'm just going to be very frank.
You're annoyed by this.
I'm going to be very frank about this. When Matt Rule said Thursday that they're going to play 4, I don't understand.
Are you like everybody gets a ribbon?
No, it's not that. It's just, how do you get anybody in a rhythm like that?
I think, and Satterfield did tip his hand a little. If someone gets hot, they're staying with a hot hand, period.
Yeah, how do you get 4? It's Sean, it's a challenge to get 4 in. It really is.
I believe Ramir Johnson is the guy that will play first. That's just my feel.
Okay.
And I think Emmett Johnson will play with him. Those will be the first 2 you see. With Gabe Irvin Jr., how does he come back? And Matt Rule did say those 2 backs I mentioned, Johnson and Johnson, will be the 3rd down passing backs. The short yardage power running backs are going to be Irvin Jr. and Dante Dowdell. That
makes sense. I mean, all that makes perfect sense. So how's that going to look playing 4 guys in the first half? Listen, this isn't just Sipple talking. Satterfield, Marcus, on Tuesday said he would have liked to see someone separate. Rule said it. Satterfield said it a little more forcefully, that he clearly wanted somebody to separate. Didn't happen. Doesn't mean they're bad. I don't think it's a bad group. I want to make that very clear. I like Nebraska's group of running backs because of their toughness. They're all very willing guys. They will explode into contact. But what the coaching staff has said is correct. They got to find somebody that gets more than what's blocked. That's the critical thing.
What's tough though is literally from like 1983 to 2014, Nebraska's had pros at running back.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, you can go from Rozier to Abdullah, and
all everything in between.
And everything in between. There might have been a small era where, like, Josh Davis still played pro, but I wouldn't have labeled him as a kick returner, wasn't he?
Maybe a little bit.
But like the 03 team, they didn't. Then the Corey Ross actually took over that year, the Preacher Pro.
Yeah.
But you can literally go from 83 to 14. They've had a pro pretty much almost every year.
Yeah. And I don't know that I see a pro.
15, Ozigbo has been their only pro back. And I mean, when I use the term pro loosely with Ozigbo.
He Yeah.
I mean, he got in, but
here's the thing about Ziegler that you can't deny. He ran for 1,000 yards and averaged 7 a carry. I mean, that's
and he took over the job when they really didn't want him to be the guy.
Yeah.
Like he kind of just forced them to make him the guy.
And he made some very explosive runs.
So could we get an Ozigbo story out of this?
That'd be great because it would mean some. Do you remember that year? He had some explosive runs.
Who was the
where
guy?
you were in the press box going, whoa.
Remember the Illinois game?
Yeah. You're like, geez.
Well, Greg Bell was the guy they really wanted. And he started out, had some moments, but then the Colorado game, he got ran down on like a breakaway touchdown.
I mean, there's a guy run out of bounds sometimes. I mean, went to San Diego State though and had a good run. But anyway, what is that going to look like? So what else? Well, you're looking at the kicking game. I mean, the place kicking game is really interesting right now because everybody's on edge. Even if Nebraska's up 20-0 in the second quarter, when that place kicker, if there's a situation where they got to try a field goal, everybody's going to be on
punts
edge.
too, though.
Yeah.
And hey, punt returns. Like, are we going to get in a situation on punt returns where you no longer hold your breath?
Thank you very much.
Like where you're like, oh my God, catch it, just catch it. And like, are they going to get it where he actually catch and make some yardage?
I want to make something clear about this, that you talked about this the other day, and I wanted to interject, but we were talking about other things so fast. I don't want to hear people say you can't return them anymore because of the way college football
the rugby punts are.
No. Stop. Don't. The top 3, God, don't do this to me. The top 3 return teams in the nation were in the Big Ten last year, and each of them returned 30-plus punts.
Think about Iowa.
30-plus, Penn State 30-plus, Michigan 30-plus. Don't come at me. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about anybody. Don't come at me with a simple, you can't return punts anymore. It's happening right in your own league.
Why is it? I don't have an answer for this, but why is it like you don't see teams to combat the rugby to have 2 guys back?
Well, that's a good question.
Do you remember back in the Solich era, there was a point where they're putting 3 guys back?
They put DeJuan Gross, Keo Craver, and Ben Cornelson back.
And Sweeney.
Yeah. But that year
they would have 3 back there. And by the way, Ron Brown coaching those guys again.
Right. I don't know why you don't put 2 back there. George Darrington would talk to you for an hour about this subject.
Yeah, because if they're going to punt it away from you, spread it out. Make sure somebody catches it.
In 2001, I think I'm talking about 2001. That was the year that they had, get ready for this, Sean. Get ready for this. 856 punt return yards in 2001. They had 48 last year.
What did Gross have in 02? He was an All-American.
Yeah, Gross in 01 averaged plus 12. Keo averaged, I think, I'm going to shoot from the hip on all this. Gross was plus 12. Keo was plus 11. And Cornelson had 214 return yards.
Guess who the guy was before those guys? Bobby Newcomb.
Oh, God. They had it going.
I mean, Bobby Newcomb.
They had it rolling.
Bobby Newcomb was as good as there was, too.
He was a scary return man.
I mean, he was MVP of a Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, God, he was beautiful. They had it going. Hell, we forget about Cornelson. He had 200-plus return yards that year. 200-plus? Right now, he would look like Johnny Rodgers.
I will say, though,
compared to what we've seen.
The schematics of punt formations have changed a lot. Like the shield punts, the spread punts.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's harder because
it's happening, though.
Yeah, but it's back then it was more traditional punt formations with just 2 gunners. Now you have like 8 guys spread out. And
but I'll tell you what, if Nebraska got going on punt returns, there'd be a lot of fans. It would be very happy.
DeMornay Pearsonell, I mean, at one point it looked like he turned the tide for Bo Pelini.
Yeah.
I mean, he won the game at Iowa. He almost won. I mean, the Michigan State game. Think about the Michigan State game that they lost.
I've thought about it a lot. Okay.
In 2013, they were out of that game. Pearsonell runs one back, and then they get the ball back.
Right.
And Alonzo Moore dropped a touchdown in the end, so they would have won the game when they had no business winning in East Lansing, all because of punt returns.
I know. I've thought about the subject a lot. We'll just have to see. And people are going to say, well, who's the punt returner? It's Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, I'm pretty sure. That's who we'll see.
Jamal Turner even looks like Johnny Rodgers compared to what we've seen recently.
Right. So can Isaiah Garcia Castaneda help turn the tide? But it is
Corey Barney.
Ja'Cory
They
Barney
got an
maybe.
or on that depth chart.
Yeah. But it's an 11-man conversation. You got to get blocking, and you make a guy miss, make two guys miss, and let's see what happens.
Oh, one thing Matt Rule did say at practice on Thursday is like he doesn't want to just always take a touchback. He goes, a lot of teams don't even really practice kick returns because they just expect touchbacks and fair catches. He goes, I want to run down and hit people.
Really?
Cause some chaos, cause some hits.
Okay.
So he's okay. I mean, I think they want to force teams to return kicks.
Yeah, you saw what Scotty Walden says about he likes Nebraska's culture in part because you see them running down on kickoffs like a bunch of wild banshees. That's what Walden said. And that's always a sign of culture for a team. When I watch a football team, the first thing I watch is how do they run down on kickoffs? Because if you see guys just smoking down there, you know this team's ready.
And they were good last year covering. I mean, like
they were good.
Think about the Minnesota game right out of the gates. Mekhi Bear laid a stick.
Yeah, they were good on that.
I mean, Minnesota didn't get to the 20.
Yeah, Matt's team. I always think Rules teams will be good.
And if you tackle somebody on like the 13,
significant
advantage.
Oh God. And it whoops the crowd up. It whips your sideline up.
Then you're receiving the punt closer to midfield potentially than all the way back.
100.
All right. Before we take it to headline number 5, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you by Homefield Apparel. Great time of year to stock up, load up at Homefield. They have so many unique custom items that you're going to want to get your hands on here. As you get ready to come down to Lincoln, and Simple wants one of those jackets.
Yeah, I like the red one. You're going to scroll down. You're just going to see a red one that you could envision Bob Devaney wearing. You could envision Bob Devaney wearing that jacket. See that? Look at that's Bob's jacket.
But
that's Bob Devaney.
So at Homefield, we got you squared away with HuskerOnline. We're going to give you 15% off at Homefield. And this is premium custom athletic gear. Use the promo code Husker24. That's promo code Husker24 to get 15% off of your favorite gear. And this is the custom stuff. Now, you're not going to necessarily find this at your favorite box store in town. They have the unique items for basketball, football, volleyball, not even just Nebraska. If you like another team, they have tons of cool stuff for other teams as well. Once again, that's promo code Husker24 to receive 15% off from Homefield. Thank you again to Homefield Apparel for sponsoring us on the HuskerOnline show. Okay, headline number 5, our final headline of the show. We got some technology changes and some new rules coming upon us in college football. So we're going to see a few new things. I'll go through the rules and the changes right now here for Simple. We'll have a 2-minute warning, which is called the 2-minute timeout.
Pretty big.
Third quarter or second quarter and fourth quarter. So that's new to this year's college football. Another new rule, but most fans won't even know it's new, is you're no longer, evidently you were allowed to horse collar tackle inside the tackle box. Now that's a penalty. So no horse collar at all, period, anywhere. There was a small portion of the field they allowed it to happen. That's gone.
Okay.
Keep
going.
Helmet headset technology.
That's the big one.
Your quarterback will have a green dot helmet on with a headset in it. And then the coaches can speak to him in that headset. So he'll have
for how much time?
From the 42nd point to 15, or when the play is snapped. And it is a third-party company that will be hitting the headset on and off button. So it's not like Nebraska controls this. And if the other team or your technology were to go out, both teams lose the helmet technology.
So you'll have 25 seconds of technology.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Where they can speak to you and tell you things. And I think you'll see kind of more of a rush to the line of scrimmage to survey.
So the coach in the box, Marcus Satterfield, is in the box. He'll be up top. He will be the one speaking to the quarterback.
Glenn Thomas. Can you have more than one voice?
No, you don't. It's Satterfield. That's it. And Matt Rules talked about this, and he said something that I regarded as very wise. And that is he likes Satterfield to do this because Satterfield doesn't overdo it. The last thing I would want as a quarterback or I wouldn't, or as a head coach, I wouldn't want a guy in there chatty, saying too much, like just keep the thing. And And Satterfield does a good job of that.
You're not going to have much time. You have to have quick sentences and thoughts.
Right. And don't overdo it. Don't
like when you put a
overload
play call in, maybe remind them of the keys. Hey, check the safety. Check the.
Yeah, I think it's a very common sense discussion. Of course, you don't want to overload them.
I should know this.
Second. You don't want to overload the quarterback. It'd be annoying.
Can the quarterback talk back, or is it just?
Ooh, you ask me a question I don't know.
I don't think the quarterback. I mean, how would they be able? I mean, it's not like they have a microphone.
No, there's no microphone. So yeah, they can't talk back.
That's
a good question, though. Yeah. So it'll be Satterfield. Satterfield's up in the box. He'll do that. Defense. There'll be somebody, probably an inside linebacker, right? John Bullock.
They have not said. You could have Gifford, Bullock, somebody with a green dot helmet on. But the defense is kind of in a different
position. A big deal.
Like you're not going to have enough time to listen and then get it all to everybody. It's going to be hand signals and
because of the fast-paced offenses in college, and Nebraska happens to face off in the game one against a very fast-paced offense. Now, Sean, does Colorado, do they whip it up? Do they run tempo a lot?
I mean, they have a new offensive coordinator.
So I don't know. I don't know what kind of tempo.
I think they have the ability to, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the helmet technology is a massive change. And, on the heels of the Michigan sign stealing and why this wasn't brought in years ago is beyond me.
Well, I think it's beyond Matt Rule too, because you've seen it in the pros for some time, right?
It's a cost. I mean, it costs money to add this.
Yeah, cost no problem for places like Nebraska, but there are places where cost is an issue. But yeah, this is good. I don't know how much I keep talking about Dylan's brain power, and I believe in it. So I don't know how much it helps Dylan. I mean, he thinks the game at such a high level. He sees things at such a high level. Obviously, it can be helpful. And I like the fact that Satterfield, you know Marcus Satterfield pretty well. He doesn't even really overdo it talking in any setting,
He's pretty even keel.
Yeah, very even.
Funny guy though, if you get to know him.
Yeah, he's very dry, but he doesn't overdo it talking about anything. So I like that.
Well, then the other thing is the tablets on the sideline. So Nebraska can have 23 headsets, which I believe that number's up from what it was before, and 18 iPad type tablets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what brand they are, if they're Apple or PC brand, but they'll have 18 of them on the field synced in to a game feed. So people in the coach's box, literally like as a play ends, will be able to review and watch plays. And I think this is a big advantage for schools that have the ability to have more analysts and brain trust on their staff, because those people then behind the scenes can look at things closer then relay that to the coaches to get down to the field.
It's a lot. God, some of that I wonder about. They just have a bunch of guys staring at tablets. I guess the old school part of me is kind of like, it all seems like a little much to me. And I think Rule has kind of voiced that too. Like, you just don't want a bunch of guys down there staring at tablets.
It's a big day, by the way, for the new and improved Wi-Fi in Memorial Stadium.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, they better be up and running at full. And I will say, I've tested the new. I was in Devaney's got it too, and I was at Kit's swim practice.
Okay,
and
how'd that go?
I did a test on the Wi-Fi, and it is lightning quick.
Is it really?
Like as fast as Wi-Fi as you're going to have anywhere.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, especially in a public place. I get it. You could probably have something at your house. It's a little bit better, but they've upgraded the Wi-Fi.
Did you talk to Pablo about it?
No. But they've upgraded the Wi-Fi at a high level.
Pablo Morales is the swim coach.
Former world record holder.
Yes, you're become very close with. So here we go, Sean. This is it. We're here. God bless America.
And we post game show.
Show.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Are we going to say 8 or 8:30?
I don't know how. We don't know.
Well, a lot of it depends on how quick the game ends.
Yeah.
I've told our great producer Megan, like, we're hoping for 8, but 8:15 or 8:30 could happen too.
2:30. I mean, you kind of hope the game's over at 5:45.
Yeah.
Do your interviews till 6:30. Oh yeah, we should be doing it at 8. 8.
And we've got it's going to be for Robin will be back on, obviously, but the post game show has become one of our most popular things we do.
I think we can tell the people right now.
We're shooting for 8.
Shoot for 8. If it's 8:15, don't worry. It won't be much after 8:15. That's what I'd say.
And I'm expecting record post-game viewership this year.
Are you? Well, this game, as we've established, Nebraska's the prohibitive favorite. They should win easily. That's a little change of tune from Tuesday. I think they should win easily. And then we have such a big second game.
A swing game.
Oh, yeah. I guess it is. It's going to be monumental. And I look at this game, the UTEP game, in the context of the second game. Let's see Nebraska. Let's see what they got.
Like, how different would Boulder, Colorado have been if Nebraska beats Minnesota?
Yeah, it might have been different.
And walks out of there differently. But
it makes you wonder a little bit.
The defense played so well at Minnesota. That's the hardest thing about that loss.
Well, I got to think that loss, I don't know why we're talking about it right now, it had to take some juice out of Nebraska, because I just remember our reaction in the press box. And I guess I'm mainly talking about me now. I don't get too angry about that kind of stuff, but I was pissed. Like when they blew that lead, I remember I kept saying to you, are you serious? Are they going to blow this?
Well,
they're going to blow this game right now?
Then we're like, okay, it's going to go to overtime.
Yeah.
And then Sims figured out a way to mess that up too.
Right. I just kept looking at you, are they seriously going to blow this game? So it had to take some wind out of them too. Right? Because it took some wind out of you and me.
And the Minnesota kicker had to make an unreal kick to win. It wasn't like a chip shot.
No.
The guy ended up being the All Big Ten kicker.
Yeah, he's good. So I think the game, I think you want to see Nebraska not just squeak by and then us walk out of there going, well, they won. I think
a win's a win.
Right. I think you want to see them make a bit of a statement. You
don't want to be, Nebraska's not in a position where they can be picky about how they win.
I don't know if I've kind of said that, but not after I got to looking at UTEP, not as much. You should handle them.
All right.
And play good football, play clean football. You can do it. If you watched Georgia Tech and Florida State, I think they had 5 or fewer penalties between them, no turnovers. You can play an opener relatively clean. You can. It can happen. Do it.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday. Again, join us on HuskerOnline here on our channel, and we will have the post-game show around 8 o'clock is our plan to break down the UTEP game. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan, signing off for Husker Online Headlines.